Now the question is $2 XRP fair value? I mean, perhaps it's finally that at a fair value. I think actually Ethereum is finally back at a more fair value. I personally think so. I think that we had way too much nonsense being built on ETH, and now it's back at a more reasonable, like, is 4,000 reasonable? Why should it be? Shit's slow, it's expensive as fuck. It's pretty much garbage, no offense. I mean, I can't build a blockchain, so I should probably calm down. I'm not trying to get too
Oh,
spicy here, but my point is that these things are all speculation. Everything that's happening.
I
So if we
love it.
start to,
You're singing for me, brother. I've been talking about how cooked Ethereum is for a while because they got the ETFs last year and it didn't break up into a new all-time high. Like you said, it got close. But I mean, the Bitcoin ETFs were able to push it up and send it into a new paradigm. The Ethereum ETFs, well, yeah, it's just been lackluster. I mean, ETH is lagging so hard. So keep on going, brother. You're singing to me.
yeah, no, I'm kind of like starting to assess what exactly is that's going on here with the entire market, and I do believe ETH plays a role in it, but I'm starting to open up my eyes to the fact that oh man, this comes full circle to where today's interview started, where we were talking about like I'm trying to remember exactly, so maybe you could help me with remembering, but we were kind of just talking about it's not enough. We went up 1,000, 300%, 400%. Like it's really not enough for people, right? And
Hmm.
I want to just harp on this for a moment, how desensitized crypto investors are specifically, where we see 100% move in our assets and we're like, oh, whatever. But meanwhile, like a stock investor would be like feeling like they've hit the jackpot. And
Yep.
for us, it's like never enough. So I think that also comes back to like where's fair value in our reality? It doesn't even exist because this is mostly digital fairy dust, like at the end of the day. And we're giving meaning to it more as communities online than actual real world use. You
Hmm.
feel me?
Yep.
So
100%.
the way this is unfolding is like perhaps this time around we're waking up to that everything will be repriced in the whole world, whether that be during Trump's administration or that be the one after, I don't care. We're moving into what I'm calling the Aquarian economy. It's the economy of the Aquarian age, where
Hmm.
we will see identity no longer as it was. I mean, I believe we've also been seeing that as early as Obama's administration with all of the rhetoric going there. And then now that we're seeing Trump back here, day one, he's taken away a lot of the stuff that was being like programmed into the soft skulls of the world
Hmm.
during the Obama and Biden time. And then now we're like, oh man, what I feel good, but the market's down, and this is positive again, but this is not so good, and all my drop shipping businesses are gonna stop working soon because of the tariffs. Like this is such chaotic times, and I think what I'm trying to reveal here before we finish off with this analysis is like this is actually quite a good thing because it will make us grateful again. I think we will eventually become grateful as investors, specifically crypto investors again. And everything in 2020 and 2021, in my opinion, showed me how scary and dangerous investing is from a retail perspective because no one wants to take profits in this market. No one wants to de-risk. People laugh at people who talk about de-risking. People were laughing at me when I was de-risking my Bitcoin at 47K to buy like a 35-cent XRP. Who do you think won that exchange?
Yep.
Did I win by Bitcoin going up 150% or did I win by having my XRP play go up 500? Which one is it?
Hmm.
But no one sees it for what it is. And they get upset and point fingers at people and tell you you're wrong. And I'm like, "Damn, man, we needed this." And I think by 2026 we'll start to become more grateful again, I think, to even be a part of this game. And I'll will sit back and have this conversation like old men being like, remember the 30-cent XRP? You know, like it's gonna be that. And
Hmm.
and I hope people are waking up to what we're saying. But I think this overlay right here is pretty amazing. I'm not gonna shrink it down to try to make it perfect, but let me do my best to kind of make sense of what I'm showing you here that there are these major moves in ETH from cycle top to this major low right there, and then the shift back to the upside, a return back to the lows another shift up, this V-shaped recovery in alignment with the C19 crash, the recovery, the peak over here, and then a major release in energy topping there. Now it's started to decouple, but what I'll teach you is what happened over here. It was the start of a total lunar cycle. Lunar eclipses started kicking in over here. That's what just happened here in March.
Mm.
So this big drawdown after this Christmas tree top, it was right there into the start of a new eclipse season. And then this rally that we had was right before the second total or the second eclipse of the cycle. Well, the next eclipse that's coming up will be on September 7th. So I'm overlaying this, and what it's showing is that we could still have like a little bit more bottoming going on for altcoins through, let's just say, May, but it would all be because Bitcoin dominance is just continuing to rage up to like 70%. And in that moment, as long as the stock market is looking pretty good and USDT dominance is kind of keeling over, we can see XRP back at the 240 range. We could see ETH back at like the 2000 range all throughout this May timeframe. But the true release I'm feeling is actually in alignment with this move right here, this July and
Mhm.
August. And
Mhm.
if you see where this fractal tops out, funny enough, but by the way, guys, I'm not saying we're going to go to a $13,000 ETH. This fractal I'm just showing you is more of the major pivots, which so far, a lots of them are matching up. You could see that right there. Perfect bottom from the top, perfect bottom right there, perfect top, etc.
Mhm.
This
Mhm.
release in energy into July, August, perhaps a very early September. You know what this aligns with, bro? It aligns with the 1929 market, the market that moved us into the Great Depression. Like, I'm not saying we're going to move into a Great Depression 2.0, but with what I laid the foundation for earlier, because some of you might be like, Waters, what the hell are you talking about with the everything becoming repriced and all that? Well, that's what 2026 and 2027 is going to be. It's going to be a great repricing. Why? Because AI is coming. So everything I just said in that riff, in that stream of consciousness, it adds up to what's the outlook of the direction of our future. In
Mhm.
2026, as early as July, the city of Austin, Texas, will be allowing robotaxi fleets to be street ready. And I do believe that throughout the end of 2026, sorry, 2025, we're talking about months away, guys. Throughout the end of this year, we'll start to see more of these implementations city by city, like we did with something like Uber, where it just took city by city until now it's across the globe.
Mhm.
What does this mean? Well, think about this, what it's going to do to the labor force. So why are they like collapsing everything right now? Because they're gonna do what they've said they were gonna do. These technocrats are going to push in more of or they're gonna push out the gig workers and they're gonna replace a lot of the gig workers with autonomous vehicles and humanoid robots. It's not an opinion anymore. We saw last year the company Tesla themselves introduced this. It's not a meme.
Well, it's happening
Everything,
in Phoenix right now too. I was just down in Scottsdale, and the
yeah,
Waymo
Waymo.
vehicles are driving all around, and I scaring me to death too. I'm crossing the sidewalk, looking at that thing. Like, "Hey, you gonna make a move here or what?" You know, it's scary when you first see them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a thing. And I think a lot of people they hate to hear this, but you mentioned before that you wanted to discuss future outlook. And I kind of prepared the stage for that, like the future wealth plan and like how to go about the rest of this cycle until we get to a moment where it's pretty obvious that the grand plan all along was to do what Trump said within like a week of his uh becoming president. He said that he's going to make America the blockchain and artificial intelligence capital of the world.
Yep.
I don't know how the QAnon people feel right now, but that is the antithesis of what was presented in their theories.
Yep. And we've already got trillions of dollars invested. Now, Jordan, before we get there, because we have set the stage, but people will kill me if I don't ask you for the XRP analysis, and maybe we could just do our XRP analysis real quick and then roll right into that on our wealth
Sure,
strategy
sure, sure.
because we need to know how high XRP is going to go so we can establish our wealth plan there. Huh?
Sure.
And that's a joke too, guys, because we've talked about this in the past. I've always said XRP is just one part of my plan for creating generational wealth. We need to each find, and especially as Jordan's running us up here into this conversation of the reset, restructure, revaluation, life as we know it changes forever. You need to figure out, is your business going to be viable in, the next few years? Now is the time to figure this out. One, yeah, we want to figure out where XRP is going, but other than that, we should also have another, a full, wholesome strategy for creating the life that we want, whether that includes generational wealth or not. But Jordan, where do you see XRP going here this bull run? I want to get your timeline on this bull run as a macro, the broader market, and then for XRP, what levels do you see this thing going to in the next 12 months or so?
Of course. So we could see this chart. We've been harping on it quite a bit lately. We could go ahead and zoom into it now, but you're in the I built the foundation to tell you that we could very well be in something like this right now, where we've had our official peak up here that's started to show exhaustion, and this rally higher high is actually a bull trap to the upside. Not too rare in crypto. In Wyckoff, it's called upthrust. And what you move into after that is sort of this very strange choppy phase where you have dramatic moves to the upside, dramatic corrections to the downside. But usually these absorption candles, which are you could identify them because they have big tails to the downside, kind of like the C19 crash. Remember, everyone remembers the tails on some of those candles were like 20 to 30%. It's fucking crazy. So here in crypto land, we're quite used to that. And whatever ends up being our particular bottom, I still think the timing is very well postured with my overall analysis that I've been sharing for a year. Which is July, August, is the big release of energy. So you kind of have the time frame here, and the movement is going to be very similar to this. And now, since we're talking about it, let's go ahead and zoom into what that was. And we'll just pull a very basic fib. I'm sorry if it looks a little messy. I'll do my best to expand it. I'm on a weekly chart, by the way, because who cares about the daily?
What you mean we're
Well,
not going to look at the 5 minute chart?
yeah, we should be looking at the 13-minute chart. So over here, I took this, I pulled a fib. I actually turned this indicator off, or sorry, I turned this setting off. It's called fib levels based on log scale. I am looking at a logarithmic chart right now, but what I'm doing is I'm analyzing quite a short time frame. So whenever I'm looking at shorter time frames, I look at it on a linear, especially with my fibs. Whenever I'm looking at longer time frames, I'll look at it on log, and I'll use both sometimes to mark off levels. Right. So I'm just doing a very basic fib pull here, swing high to swing low. By the way, this correction, I know when we zoom out, it doesn't look that crazy, but this was about a 68% correction. What did we do recently? Well, let's go into XRP. Let's go from this current top, about 336, and down to our swing low. We're looking at about a 52% correction. That would be pretty much good to go, in my opinion. Especially the fact that this, sorry, I know there's an indicator on top. It's this M2 indicator. But look, there's pretty decent absorption on any sub $2 XRP. And I think that's clear now. So what this is showing me is a very clean move of a Wyckoff accumulation in the micro of a buying climax, selling climax, automatic reaction. And here was just a supply test to the downside, which was back testing a confirmed support. We know it was confirmed support because of this bounce up. By the way, guys, we're looking at weekly candles. So this was a weekly close above here. This isn't an hour chart. This is very important data. Then what do? Everything likes to backtest the 236 before we really spend time in the golden pocket. XRP says fuck you to the golden pocket, breaks straight through it. It loves to do this. XRP doesn't give chances. Okay. I think I showed you this a little bit earlier over here. XRP loves to break through the golden pocket, like swipe through it in a straight line. We did it back in the phase 3 of the last alt season, and we did it also over here on this candle. If I was to pull a fib, I could show you. Undeniable, just swiped straight through it, gets to the top, and then starts chopping around. Or sorry, let me turn this back on because this would be a multi-year. You see right there? Boom. Swipes straight through all that liquidity. Back tests the top of the golden pocket. What did we just do? Swipe through all that, back test the top of the golden pocket. It's looking clean to me, guys. I just think the timing of it is more like here. this time frame between May and December.
Hmm.
So what we're doing right now is we're trying to identify a structural setup to have the breakout, although the breakout itself is going to be equally as violent as we saw recently back at the October, November timeframe. So I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing. I'm going to pull a fib. Now that we've had a pretty dramatic pullback, I'm going to make sure that this setting is turned off so that I'm looking at it linearly. And we are now getting back to the 236 level. We do really want to get back above this sooner than later. Or this is just a really jacked up bull flag, which I'm not the biggest pattern trader on earth. And I try to avoid calling patterns, especially in cryptocurrency. But the reason why I'm saying we got to get it back above this sooner than later is because this was our structural support, and we don't want this to become like a head and shoulders. This could sink much, much lower. The answer to that is how long will it last? Well, sad news for everyone here in XRP, we don't have much being built over here. We broke straight through this, very little volume built over here. Would it
Hmm.
be healthy for XRP to come back to like $1.20? Well, it wouldn't feel healthy, but it would grab all that liquidity. And I think the New World Order right now wants to bring you as much pain as possible. So I'm not calling that we can go lower from this particular range because, in my opinion, we filled most of this tail. Like this has been filled, all of this liquidity. I wasn't expecting it, but we did. And we did it off of a narrative. So when you combine narrative, like with the C19 crash, plus major volatility, then you look at what the VIX is doing, you look at what all the market doing, and you look at symphony together. To me, it shouldn't go too much lower, but we have this whole area which is exposed. It's naked. We don't have any trading being built here since the breakout.
Hmm.
I wasn't excited about this breakout on XRP because I don't like the way XRP breaks out. It's my
Hmm.
biggest position. I'm just being honest as a neutral technical analyst of this asset. I fucking hate how it breaks out because
Hmm.
it loves to just swipe through all the liquidity and then it has these Bart Simpson heads. You know, it's become like kind of a meme, and
Right.
we're teetering into that territory of like, does this turn into a momentary distribution?
Hmm.
So if I had to be super neutral right now, I think we need to get through the month of April because we have a couple of astrological things that are happening. Some as soon as this weekend, like Venus will be stationing direct soon. That is something I'm just starting to look into because it's a every other year event and it definitely causes some fuckery in markets. And we've seen Mercury retrograde causes a cyclical pattern in markets. I just covered it well, I need to make a new YouTube video soon. I make them less regularly because I sort of feel like all the other people are doing all the work for me, keeping people updated on the markets, and I try to only come out when I have something powerful to say. But yeah,
Hmm.
needless to say that we've moved through the Mercury retrograde timeframe. We're in the shadow period right now. That could take up until after this upcoming full moon, which will be it'll be tomorrow. So for everyone who's listening to this, I'm not sure if you're going to post it later today or tomorrow,
Yep.
but effectively when we're around full moons, I think you said earlier when you were trading, you know better than most people, this is a time frame for a bottoming structure. But every new moon lately has been leading to an immediate dump. And that's been a pattern that we got all last year. Funny enough, it kind of started after the Bitcoin ETF launched. So
Hmm.
ever since the Bitcoin ETF launched, we've been seeing two things occur. All the new moons immediately following them are bearish, and M2 money supply offset by like around 3 months and a half has been spot on. It's not something we could look back on years and prove, but lately everyone's catching on to this. So it's telling me the New World Order is going to be like, oh, you fucking idiots, you're looking at the wrong thing again. You know, I'm no offense, but like people have made this their core analysis now, like just looking at M2. And I'm like, you got to be careful, guys, because
Yeah.
it's not as simple. And when you're looking at an altcoin, remember the entire global liquidity is like we only need a fucking penny of percent to get crazy moves in all random altcoins. So I just be careful. And at this time, I'm more until I see structural reversal in place, particularly on XRP, we have to remain cautious. So to round out the analysis, structural reversal would be getting back above 250. Cementing a weekly close again above 260 would look like this. Something like that. getting back to there. Even there, I would suspect back tests. So I would love to see XRP actually do something like this. It's never going to do what I want, but if I had to draw out kind of the play here, I would suspect something like this through the weekend. Maybe Monday we get a little bit of like flash because that's been a common theme lately. Then as we get towards the end of the month, a little bit of chop around the 240. Then we have the new moon come back like that and then do something like that.
Hmm.
Late May.
Hmm. Late May.
Yeah, and I don't care about the pattern. I don't really care about the structure. I'm just sort of giving you like my outlook right now. It's really this post new moon and right now in the next like 4 or 5 days. Because also one thing to share, and I don't know if you're aware of this, did you know that whenever we have a 9% move on the S&P to the upside, we've never actually continued higher past that day? We've always come back to a deeper correction than where we corrected prior off of
Yeah.
that. That's like a fact.
That's what was
Do we?
scary about that bounce is we've only seen a recovery or basically gains like that for the stock market during bear markets.
Yes. And that's fucked up. That's something
Yeah.
we need to be serious about and we need to address that this bounce right here that we got was ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. This
Only
isn't
only
even a V
Trump could
shape.
make that happen.
Yeah, this isn't even a V-shape recovery. It's like a needle recovery.
Right.
So I'm
Uh,
sorry. I'm very cautious about this
yeah.
personally. It's crazy. In my last Red Pill podcast that I do for my Patreon community, I talked about this before we had the weekly open. I kind of dedicated it to this like Black Monday meme that was going around.
Mm.
But I said that watch Monday open will probably be close, like very close, if not slightly deeper into the prior all-time high of 2021. And it's mind blowing how we swiped up through all that liquidity and recovered pretty much back to where the breakdown was. This is the most unhealthy move I've ever seen. And it's so narrative driven and awkward that, yeah, when I look at that data about the 9% moves on the S&P and how we've been known to go lower after, it wouldn't shock me if something happens and I don't want to theorize too much, but I just sent this out yesterday, a tweet that the market's drunk right now. And effectively, if I could summarize what I said in the tweet, is that we're going to get desensitized to hearing about these exaggerated tariff numbers. And today, what happens? We get like, what is it? China 100 something percent tariff.
Yeah, they went from
And
84 to 125 or something like that. Yeah,
there
we're
you
losing
go.
track of these numbers. Yeah.
And the market went up. Okay.
Yep.
So, like, my point here is that that is all going to be, it's like a meme. It's bullshit now. No one gives a fuck. And it's because we're in the new world. If they did that in 1980s, bro, holy fuck, we would be like at least another 20% correction throughout the whole week. But now no one cares because everything is about exaggeration with who? With Trump. Everything is exaggeration and we don't care anymore. This is why they're using him to distract everyone, and this is why they're using his exaggerate. He's like hyperbole about everything. So no one's going to take him seriously soon, and they're about to turn him into a hero again. So mark my words. Everyone who thought he was a hero after he won the election, they've just demonized him. Now they're going to turn him back into a hero again, and it'll probably be synchronized with what you shared earlier, the next Fed meeting. What did I just show you on this XRP chart? This dump down over here into
Yep.
when? Right into around the Fed meeting. Now, I have one more last thing to share. So you don't think what I'm showing you here is just make believe. For some reason, all of our events lately have been on specific dates. We have the 2/2 date. I know you said February 3rd earlier, but people need to remember that that was just the daily close. We actually were having all this chaos start on February 2nd, the 2/2
Hmm.
date. That's symbolic of the 33rd day of the year. Then we have on March 3rd, we have this event with Trump again, where the Truth Social post happens
Oh
on
yeah, perfect.
3/3 Gregorian date, and then it's a Twin Towers candle, is what I call it. So you have the pump and dump with the same, pretty much the same volume either direction. Then you have on the 4/4 date, we have the whole thing start with the tariffs. So the stock market completely takes a shit. Let me get back to the S&P so you guys could see like what is Waters talking about. I'm talking about this. Okay. We have this major move into the 4/4 date, April 4th. Market closes on Friday. Jim Cramer comes out, expect a Black Monday, right? Okay. Well, if we look at some of the stats here on the closures, we had this 38 thousand point Dow. The following day we had Bitcoin at the 83K level. Dude, I don't know what the hell's going on in this market, but it's synchronizing so well with numerology.
Yeah.
Just like kind of where I want to wrap up this idea is like we have 4-4, and then we have 4-7 is our crazy fucked up day, the quote unquote Black Monday. And we were just talking earlier about how we have the 47th president. So you have April 4th through April 7th was like our market reset in a way. It was all the hedge fund liquidations, margin calls, etc. happened throughout those two trading days. And then we had the Bitcoin, the 74K crash. We had, everything I was saying about Trump being the 47th president. It's wild, man. So I'm thinking because I started this whole 4-2 date, 3-3 date, 4-4 date, Cinco de Mayo is coming up. Will they do
Mm-hmm.
something weird on Cinco de Mayo, which synchronizes with the next time Chair Powell speaks? Probably. I didn't look at the exact date of the week that will be. Let me quickly check that while I have my calendar here. So it's going to be a Monday, even better. The
Yep.
fact that it's a Monday is great because what do we see in our pattern? Well, February 3rd was a Monday. We have March 3rd. It was a Monday. We have April 7th. It was a Monday. What the fuck? So Monday, Moon Day, day of Moony, money. This is all just liquidity. And they're using the Friday market close, giving us this time to the weekend. We've been seeing these insane CME gaps opening to the upside or the downside on Bitcoin every time they're getting filled. And the relationship that we're having now with all of the markets it's like it's synchronizing. And I think 5-5 will probably be maybe, and I don't want to put myself on blast here, but it might be like one of the really sick opportunity, like last minute opportunities we have if we are to see downside pressure.
Mm-hmm.
The only other thing that I could say to round this out is they love the number three. They love doing things in threes. So did we have our three events already? We had 2-2 on the 33rd day of the year. We had March 3rd, 33 Gregorian date. And what would be 33 days later?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So we take
Mm-hmm.
33 days. Let me see if I could get back to this on my chart. But when we take from the March 3rd date over 33 days later, it brings you to the 4-5 date, literally right into that weekend where we had everything go
Wow.
down in our markets.
Wow.
So I'm postulating that we might have already had our 33 rituals.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's time for us to have some positive. I don't know if the Fed is gonna do what we want them to do. I feel like everyone wants them to do what we want them to do, and that's where I'm a little cautious.